What did your parents think of your lifestyles? Your parents, because like I'm thinking about my parents. What do they think? What do your parents think about you and everyone? Like, how was your training back then? Now, what did they think? They hate it? Were they okay?
Great question. So back then, they fucking hated it.
Next, a little bit easier questions here. Very easy. Okay, who taught Zyzz to dance? Who taught him? Is this just in his room doing his thing? Did he watch a YouTube video?
I could say, look, I'll say it was a combination of the Jersey Shore influence, and really the dancing was derived from a subculture in Melbourne at the time, Melbourne, Australia, as you guys like to call it, Melbourne, Australia, called the tectonic. So that obviously like incorporates, like you've probably seen like all the moves like the windscreen wipes, the follow throughs, like all the moves, like he'd be practicing just in his room, like in front of the mirror. And practice makes perfect, bro. Repetition, 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 brother. Just like with bodybuilding, you do it enough times, you're gonna master it, right? And that's essentially what he did. He became the master of his bedroom.
Awesome.
He became the master of his bedroom, and just practicing from the older boys in the scene from Melbourne, from the tectonic. And then the tectonic migrated into the muzza, and now the muzza has migrated into chopping, which all the young kids do now. So it's kind of evolving with time. You know all about chopping, don't you, Alex? No? Okay, all the Asians do it back here. So yeah, whatever, man. That's that. So, but yeah, great question. Let me fling you one now. I wanted to actually talk about Sarms because I dabbled on it a little bit.
I've done tons of videos on this, so yes.
I wanted to talk to you about your opinion on Sarms versus steroids and their place in bodybuilding. And have you used Sarms? And what are your favorite Sarms personally? And what can you compare some of the Sarms you've used to some of the steroids that are out there?
Man, that's a lot, but I've pretty much done videos on all this, and I've used several different kinds of SARMs. And to me, it's just like an easier version of taking a steroid. It's almost like a gateway to taking steroids. However, I think that some SARMs are actually stronger than steroids. So let's, for example, take RAD 140. Well, LGD is one of the stronger ones, but RAD 140 was always my favorite, and I compared to Anavar, except for me, RAD 140 was stronger than Anavar. So I went into a bench press contest, and I'm only taking RAD 140, and I'm like, how am I so strong? It's really that effective. Now, in comparison, you could take testosterone and tren at high doses. It's obviously going to be stronger, but the RAD 140 still works. Now, the only problem is it can still cause suppression. So if you are taking SARMs, you still have to get your blood work done and still see, is my body reducing the amount of tests? Do I need a PCT? And make sure that you're giving your blood work, because they're not 100% safe. Everything that you take seems to have some kind of a danger. There's some kind of a problem that could happen, especially if you have the genetics that are, conducive to having poor blood work. So if you are taking SARMs, and don't do so if you're a teenager, wait till you're older. And I always say do so at the advice of your doctor, tell them what you're doing and monitor yourself. But they definitely work. And in comparison, like 10, probably was more than 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, I'd started taking them. People didn't even think they worked. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Some of these things work stronger than actual steroids.
I think there's still people out there that are very skeptical on SARMs, and which is why I wanted to talk about it, because me, myself personally, for my comp prep now, and for all my comp preps, I use SARMs in conjunction with steroids. I'm using MK677 as like kind of like a growth inhibitor, and
growth hormone secretagogue.
Yeah.
So it's not really a SARM, but I've used that a number of times. Really keeps a lot of water weight on you.
Look, you wouldn't call MK677 a SARM, but I mean, it's a amazing compound, and it's such a gateway that the gains on it are incredible even on its own. That it's built up a lot of hype over the years, but
the good thing of the MK is it doesn't lower your testosterone levels. So a lot of people could use, say you're using RAD 140 and you're suppressed. Well, then you have to come off and take a PCT. Well, during that PCT, you can take MK677 because it's not going to prevent your testosterone levels from returning to normal. So it's kind of like you're taking this thing, RAD 140, Osprey, whatever, that's helping you. You take it away, and then what? You're going to lose some of your gains. But if you add in the MK, kind of offset, and so you always have something helping you. And I have done videos on that exactly in detail.
Excellent. Okay, well, you got to send me some of the links to those videos, because I know you have spoken and dabbled in SARMs. That's why I wanted to get your point of view. I'm honestly pro SARMs, and not just because I'm endorsed by SARMs company, but I genuinely believe they work and they have their place in bodybuilding. Are they better than steroids? To some degree, at certain things, yes. To other degrees, no. It's not a clear answer. Like everyone's different. You know what I mean? Like if you're one that's not looking for invasive ways of putting on muscle mass, then sure, SARMs might be a more viable option than having to pin and inject in that sense. But if you're obviously looking for more long-term steady gains, then maybe steroids are more your option. But everyone's different, and then there's going to be a different anecdote from different people. But myself personally, like I'm using the LGD, and I find it's like bloody oral tren during my comp reps. I'm using that with the MK677 along with like testosterone and tren during my comp prep now, and with great results, amazing results even. So I'll always be pro SARMs, even though a lot of people out there are very iffy on the topic. So it's good to see that you're pro SARMs as well. And again, I'm going to mention Derek's name. I know Derek's loves MK677, has made plenty of videos about it as well. And yeah, it's just good to see that there's some knowledgeable people that aren't just bashing on SARMs and saying no, SARMs are rubbish, like stick to the real thing. And it's like no, they definitely have their place, and they definitely work. I remember just doing a SARMs only cycle of LGD and RAD, and dude, it looked like I was on Tren and Prop. The results were no.
I think that SARMs is also more popular. I think there's more people using SARMs than steroids right now. I really believe that. I think that because steroids are illegal in many countries and SARMs are not, I mean, if you're trying not to break the law, you have something that you can take. It's not recommended for human consumption, but it's something you can take without breaking the law. So it's somewhere right in the middle. So depending on your countries, check the laws. I don't know if the laws have changed or what have you, but steroids, many countries illegal. Canada, you can use steroids. You just can. It's not illegal. You can't sell them, but you can have them. You can have them in your house and use them, and it's not illegal. But United States, you can't do that. So it depends on the country. So please, check the laws of your own country. Jacob Miska and myself, I want to know this as well, really. What did your parents think of your lifestyles? Your parents, because I'm thinking about my parents. What do they think? What did your parents think about you and everyone? Like, how was your training back then? Now, what did they think? Did they hate it? Were they okay?
Great question. So back then, they fucking hated it. Okay, so
I thought so. I guessed that.
But yeah, I mean, your parents the same when you were younger?
When I was younger, it was 100% natural. They didn't like the diet per se so much because they saw me so restrictive, but they were all for it. But then later on, steroids and whatnot, 100% against that. Absolutely hated that. But now that I've been more successful on YouTube and I'm on the doctor prescribed, it's like, hey, you're on doctor prescribed stuff and you're doing good, do your thing.
As soon as the success came, it was the same with me. My parents turned around. They're like, oh, you're doing okay with this whole fitness gig. Keep going. I'm like, what? I'm like, just because I'm making a bit of money now, it's like, come on, man. But to answer that question, no, they weren't very supportive of our lifestyles from the start. In saying that, we were always predispositioned to look. We were like, I'm going to say in the famous words of Rich Piana, we were either going to become gay or bodybuilders because we grew up watching Van Damme, Slice to Learn, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and we grew up watching WCW, WWE wrestling. We were so exposed to just muscle-bound men, and we were crazy as kids that, and then on top of that, we got bullied when we were in high school for being really small statured. And then combine that in a recipe, stir it in a pot, take us out of school. Let's lift. It just makes, it could either create and set you up for being the person you are for the whole life. So, and it did. It really did. But were our parents ever supportive? No, they weren't. My mom still to this day isn't supportive. It's like, don't ask, don't see, don't know, don't tell. She knows what I do. She just doesn't want to hear it, doesn't want to see it, doesn't watch my videos. She probably won't watch this video. Hi, Mom, if you ever watch this, hello. You Myron. But she probably won't. So that's that. My dad is very supportive, and he's very proud of Zyzz's achievements and legacy, and he's very proud of what I'm doing at the moment too. And he's all for it, all behind me, which is nice. It's nice to have at least some support in that end. So yeah, but for the most part, no. On the come up, they weren't supportive. And guys, if there's any message I can pass on to you guys, the bodybuilding lifestyle, look, it's a very extreme lifestyle. especially if you're doing it at the at the elite level and competing, and the drug usage or whatever we want to call it and say it. Your parents aren't going to support it. They're not. Like, they don't want you to die. They want you to be healthy. They don't want you to take things in your body that you don't need to take in their eyes. But you got to do what makes you happy and what your goals and dreams are in this life. And ours was bodybuilding, and eventually it paid off for me, but it wasn't without sacrifice, and it wasn't without a lot of doubt from the parents. But like you said, Greg, as soon as the success started rolling in, the tides changed a little bit, and now my dad's like, hurry up and release more clothing, or launch some new products for your cosmetics brand, or how's the ambassador business going with the Sarms, and it's all behind us. So it's very interesting.
And I appreciate having an honest answer, not like, oh yeah, they always supported me. Like, you have to be totally honest. And I was like, parents probably weren't fans of that. Anytime you hear, PEDs, I mean, what chance are they going to be supporting that? And it leads to my next question from Dom Ark saying, it's great you guys have been transparent with the PED use. However, what advice and caution would you provide to your audience about people who are more naive or less informed than you are about the dangers of PED? So what advice would you give to younger people? They don't know as much. Like, what do you want to speak to that?
My answer to that would be to really understand what you're diving into, because once you enter that world, guys, you ain't coming back. It's a lifelong commitment. And you might think to yourself, oh, cool, I'll dabble in a cycle of test or Sarms, and I'll leave it at that. I'll make my gains and I'll stop. No, you won't. No, you won't. You will keep going, and you probably won't stop until the day you die. That's the God honest truth. So you must understand how addictive it is psychologically, mentally, and physically. You must be prepared for all the risks associated in pursuing and venturing in this kind of lifestyle. And you can't be too naive in just thinking that, it's all going to be sunshine and rainbows and you can get away with just quickly coming in and coming out. So it's going to be one of those things where you have to sit back and talk to yourself and be like, all right, am I ready for this lifelong change? Am I ready for this lifelong commitment? What detriments to my health and lifestyle this going to make? And not just my health and lifestyle, but financially, because this shit's not cheap. Like how much is it going to cost you to sustain that lifestyle, of using these hormones? And not only that, like, they have very strong psychological effects. They change your brain chemistry completely. The way you think, the way you feel, the way you act, the way you are. You will be a different human in a few years of using testosterone. You will. And I don't care what anyone says. So you have to be aware of those facts and understand that it's not something to be taken lightly. It's not. When I was 22, almost 23, and I did my first cycle of Sustanon 250. I still remember it like it was yesterday. I had the same views that most people do. Oh, I'll just do 1 or 2 cycles. I'll put on 10, 15, 20 pounds of muscle. I'll keep it all, and then I'll be natural. Like, that's all I need. And then you finish your first one. You're like, I might just do 2. Look, there's nothing wrong with doing 3. Maybe 4 cycles will just do me, and then I'm going to stop at 4. I never stopped. I started at 22. I'm 36. I've been 14 years on and off steroids. And now I'm running TRT at 36. And, if I wasn't on TRT, I would have plummeted test levels. I would not be able to function. I would not be able to wake up in the mornings. I would probably not be able to get my dick up and have a normal sex life. So these are things you guys have to be prepared for the future to understand what you're going to be like in your late 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s, and whether you're prepared for that and that lifestyle and all it encompasses, the good and the bad. So my best advice is to weigh up both ends of the spectrum and understand completely what you're getting yourselves involved in, because it's not to be taken lightly. It's not. It really, really isn't. It's a lifelong lifestyle change and commitment. So just tread with caution, guys, and don't just do steroids for the sake of doing steroids. Have a goal and a purpose in mind. If you're going to do it, I'm not going to sit here and tell you not to do it. I'm going to help you, and with knowledge and education from my life and experiences and what I've done. And you can take that away in what you want and please, and apply that to your life and decide if it's right or wrong for you. But in saying that, don't use them if you just want to build a great body. Don't waste your time. And that's coming from someone who used them at the start just to build a great body, because now I see how stupid that was. Now that I'm a competitive bodybuilder, I would rewind the clock and not have used. I simply wouldn't have. I would have built a natural physique like you, Greg, and probably waited till I started my competing career before using them to maximize my gains, to maximize my muscle, to save my hormones for a bit longer. So don't just use them if you're going to use them. If you plan on becoming an IFBB pro and you want to be on the Olympia stage, and that's what your heart and mind is set on, and you're like, I don't want nothing else in this life, then yeah, go on it. If you're 21, 22, and you've got a coach and strict, doctor guidance, and that's the life you choose, by all means, like no one's going to stop you. Go for that life, but just be prepared for everything that's going to encapsulate. And if you're looking just to build a nice beach body or impress the girls or have a good body, I've lived that life, and I can tell you, like, it's empty and pointless. Build the body naturally and only use these performance enhancing drugs if you're going to do something with it, man. If you're going to make money through it, like I am, like you are, or if you're going to be competing for a higher purpose. Otherwise, you're putting your health at jeopardy, basically.
It's just a really good answer, and I think people should like rewind this and rewatch it, because you really need to take all this into consideration. I use this example. When you start taking PDs, it's a lifetime commitment, more so than getting married. You get married, you say I do, hey, 50 to 60% are getting a divorce. But once you've injected that hormone and it changes things, there's no going back. You can go off cycle, but what's happened, the damage that might be there, it's already done. So if you're lucky, you come out unscathed. But if you're not, well, then you're not.
I mean, how many bodybuilders as well, and I think this is important to know, how many bodybuilders, young bodybuilders, are dropping dead like flies recently? 29 years old, 36 years old. Dude, I'm 36. Dude, you're 46. Like, this shit is scary. This shit is scary. And it makes you like take two and step back and be like, okay, it's good. There's a lot of knowledge out there and there's a lot of honesty, because it's actually made me take a step back on my own protocols and really assess like my own shit. Cause I'm like, I can't wait to get off my comp prep and do a massive detox and probably just come off everything, even at the cost of my libido, because I get scared too. I get very scared. You know what I mean? I don't want to die. I don't want to have these long lasting side effects. And a lot of people in our industry are copping it at a young age. So yeah, guys, just proceed with caution and just know what yourselves getting involved in. As much as they're awesome, there's also a lot of negatives.
Yeah, you got to weigh the pros and the cons. And I mean, I waited so long. Just think, 42 competitions before doing it. How many people waited that long? And even still, I wish I'd waited longer. Looking back now, I mean, until the last couple of years, I said, I don't have any regrets. But now I would do it completely different. I wouldn't do what I've always done. I'm scared now of what the damages I might have done, even though I appear healthy and the blood work looks like I'm healthy, but I'm doing everything. I'm doing a lot of cardio. I'm eating healthy. I have lower body fat levels. I'm doing everything and anything to perhaps undo a lot of the damage, but how do I know? I might die 10, 20, 40, who knows, years younger because of what I did.
Exactly. And that just comes with, again, life experience and experience of being in the industry. So, and I think there was a period in my life where, and I'm ashamed to say this, but I learned, there's a period in my life where I ran tren nonstop for about 2 years straight without coming off. Man, that's crazy, man. Like, I think back to that, I was like, what the like, what was I thinking? I'm on trend now for my comp rep, but just the last 4 or 5 weeks only. And I can't wait till the comp's over because I just want to get off it. The shit's scary.
I feel the same way whenever I'm on trend.
Sleep, bro.
I hate it.
Like, I got to smoke weed every night. I got to have a joint every night just to knock myself out, just to go to bed. You know what I mean? So guys, like, please learn from us and our experiences. Like, when don't get me wrong, don't get it twisted. I ain't telling you don't do what I do. Do whatever the fuck you want to do. I don't give a I actually don't care. But at least just have a bit of knowledge and a bit of smarts about what you're doing and what the repercussions can be.